I want to correct the term older leftover women. First of all, older leftover women, as the name suggests, implies that no one wants them, that they are left behind and thus labeled this way. However, we women who remain unmarried at an older age are not unwanted. It's our choice, a decision not to settle for just anything. It doesn't mean we are passively left over because no one wants us. Therefore, this term that many people use is completely wrong and highly inappropriate.
I'm almost 35 years old, a single woman considered to be past the ideal age. Now I don't even ask for a dowry. Even if I offer a house and car on my own, it's still hard to find someone to marry because men at arranged dates think I'm too old. There's nothing I can do. It's so hard to find a partner. I guess I'll just live alone.
This society is really harsh on those of us born in the 80s and 90s. Sometimes, I really don't understand. They say that after 30, you're already considered old to marry, like older women or older men. As long as you haven't gotten married, don't own a house, or don't have a car, it seems like you no longer have a way out. I just don't get it. 30 or 35 years old, you know? Before that, you've already done everything you're supposed to do in life. Bought a car, a house, got married, had children. So, after 35, what are you supposed to do? If we consider that a person lives to 100, by 30, you've only lived a third of your life. So, what are you supposed to do with the other 2/3? In the Chinese education system, we finish university at 22, and we've barely started life. In society, maybe at 23 or 24, you finally find a job. After stabilizing your career, you're expected to think about starting a family. Now, for those who want to continue their education with a master's or PhD, they might be 30 years old when they finish. Are they already considered too old for that? Even though we have a good academic background, we're labeled as too old for marriage. What can we do now? And I think this complication falls even more heavily on women. For Chinese men, when a woman reaches 30, she is no longer considered relevant in society. Even if this woman has never had a partner and is still a virgin, if she's 30, she becomes invisible in the eyes of Chinese people.
Have you ever noticed how nowadays older women, the so-called leftover women, have become valuable but without a market? I see arranged marriage ads everywhere, but no one is interested. I myself was once one of those women. When I was younger, I had a lot of confidence in myself, believing that I still had time and enough capital to choose my partner in the marriage market. I thought I could wait for the right moment, but with time, especially after turning 30, I started to realize that my options were shrinking. And it wasn't easy. What I didn't see in my youth was that the number of suitors drastically decreases as we get older. Beauty and youth fade, and with them, what once seemed like an advantage starts to feel like a burden. I dedicated so many years of my life to work, to my career, that when I finally realized I wanted to get married, I no longer had that youthful sparkle that men look for. In their minds, my professional achievements, my high level of education, and my financial independence aren't really advantages. I thought that being successful in my career was enough, but the men who have some capital, the ones who could give me the kind of life I always imagined, only look for one thing: a young, beautiful woman who can have children. My experience, my accomplishments weren't what they were after. The men with fewer resources, those who don't have much to offer, simply don't enter the matchmaking market. They know where they stand, and I know my place now too. Society has changed a lot, but there is still this mentality, this view that a woman, as she ages, loses her value. When I was 30, I didn't see it. I thought everything was under control. But now I see that for a woman over 50, reality is different. Not only do the suitors decrease, but life forces me to deal with issues I never imagined before, like the loss of my parents, and even harder, the lack of someone by my side to support me. The truth is that when you're young and full of hope, you think you have all the time in the world. But beauty and shine fade, and you realize too late that what you thought was an advantage actually means nothing to many men. I no longer have that capital I once thought I had, and with that, the consequences begin to show up. When you're at the height of youth, you think you can afford not to get married. But as time passes and beauty fades, reality hits hard. And now, what's left is realizing that it was my choice not to listen to what my family said, not to understand that time is a silent but relentless enemy. Now it's just me. And more than ever, I understand why I was left behind.
I really don't understand why some people think older single women live miserable lives. First of all, I honestly don't get it. They believe older single women are this way because they're too picky. Let me share 2 examples. One of my best friends is incredibly beautiful. There are men pursuing her, but she completely ignores them. She's not a lesbian either, she's purely asexual. She just doesn't want to date and finds relationships too troublesome, so she doesn't put herself on the marriage or dating market at all. The second example is me. I can't say I'm single entirely by choice. I can't get married, most likely because of my looks and financial situation, which simply don't allow me to enter a marriage. Fine, no one is interested in me. I've even pursued guys before, only to end up as a laughingstock in their social circles, known as an old woman chasing after men. Clearly, I'm the one being rejected and left behind, but people still blame me, saying I'm too picky. What kind of logic is that? And even if, by some miracle, I found someone with similar circumstances to mine, we fell in love and got married, considering how ugly and poor I am, I'd probably end up with someone just as ugly and poor. Being poor is fine, you can live a simple life. But imagine this, I already feel hopeless in the morning when I look in the mirror and see my own face. Then, when I turn my head, I see someone next to me who looks like a term used to describe something unpleasant. Who could understand this? If it were just 2 people muddling through life, that would be one thing, but having children would be a disaster. I'm poor, so I don't want my child to grow up in poverty too. Raising kids is incredibly expensive these days. I remember when I was young, extracurricular classes at the Youth Palace cost 420 yuan, and you could take several lessons. During my elementary school years, I could enroll in 8 or 9 courses. Nowadays, with strict regulations on private education, you can only hire private tutors, which is costly. The quality of life for someone earning 25,000 yuan with kids is practically the same as someone earning 8,000 yuan without kids. Getting married doesn't mean you suddenly become rich. Even if you're married, if you're poor, you'll stay poor. 2 poor people can get married and manage to rent a place, but once you have kids, you need to leave something behind for them, right? With mortgages, car loans, and expenses, life's happiness is over. If a man were interested in me and we were compatible, I'd accept it. I'd accept a marriage with no dowry, splitting rent and expenses equally. But in that case, it's essential that both of us get sterilized together. It's not that I fear marriage or parenthood. What I truly fear is my child ending up on the same path as me. While other people's children inherit beauty and family businesses, my child would inherit nothing but mediocrity. No matter how much you try to persuade me, even if my old age is lonely and difficult with no one by my side in the hospital, I'd still choose to remain single. I don't want to hurt another poor and unattractive man like me, and I certainly don't want to hurt a child who hasn't even been born yet. In essence, I'm just too responsible. I'd rather sacrifice my own life than sacrifice my child's, forcing them to pay for the mistakes of my failed life. Between a high-quality marriage and high-quality singlehood, which is better? It depends on individual needs. But high-quality singlehood is definitely better than a low-quality marriage, because a low-quality marriage is essentially a constant drain on your emotional well-being.
At 32 years old, I reached the point where I looked my father in the eyes, desperate, and said, "If the next date doesn't work out, choose one of the men I've already met, and I will marry him." Saying this was like swallowing a bitter piece of my own reality. A reality where my worth was measured by my relationship status rather than my achievements or ambitions. Hello, I'm Huiping. This is my story, and I know I'm not the only one going through this. Maybe you can relate, or maybe you've seen it happen to someone you care about. By 27, my parents started pressuring me. At first it seemed innocent, just some suggestions here and there. But then, with every passing year, I could feel their anxiety rising. The closer I got to 30, the more the weight of their expectations suffocated me. It wasn't just about finding a partner anymore. It was about proving that I was successful in the way society expected me to be, married, settled, with a family. The blind dates began. One after another, they felt like I was being handed a checklist to fill rather than being offered a chance to truly connect. Every man I met seemed to be an attempt to meet someone else's idea of the right fit. I wanted someone who respected my career, who valued my thoughts, who wanted to grow with me, not just someone who met the family's checklist. But that was the problem. My standards made me too picky. My father started to question me, asking, "Do you think no man is good enough? Is it just you who is perfect?" The more I tried to explain that I just wanted a genuine connection, the more I felt misunderstood, alone in my struggle. When I was 29, I thought I finally found someone. He was smart, ambitious, a grad student I connected with instantly. For a brief moment, I believed things would turn around. But then he left me for a woman from a wealthy family who could offer him the security of a home. Once again, my world crumbled. That was the breaking point. I decided to stop searching. I buried myself in my career, my work, my studies. By 30, I had earned my accountant certification, bought a house and a car, all on my own. I thought that would make me feel fulfilled, but deep down there was always this empty feeling, a loneliness that success couldn't fill. Despite everything I had accomplished, my parents kept pushing for more dates. They couldn't understand that I wasn't going to settle for just any man. They didn't understand the pressure I was under to conform to their ideas of success. And every time I failed at finding someone, I felt like I was failing them, failing myself. One day, after another failed attempt, I broke. I looked at my father and, crying, said, "If the next date doesn't work, then you choose for me." That sentence still haunts me. It was a moment of surrender, of giving up. And as fate would have it, that last date, arranged by my mother with a guy who had rejected me a year earlier, ended up being the one. We got along so well. It happened so quickly, and in the blink of an eye we were married. But looking back, I realized something that I didn't see at the time. I had to let go of my own desires, my own vision of love and happiness, to please everyone else. And only when I stopped fighting did things finally fall into place, but at what cost? I know women who have had similar experiences, successful, independent women, but constantly pressured by society's narrow view of what success looks like. A friend of mine who worked in Hollywood came back to China hoping to find someone, but the job market didn't value her. She ended up moving to Singapore to find happiness, away from the pressure to marry. And there she found someone who truly valued her, not for her career but for who she was. These stories make me think, why in today's world are women still judged by their relationship status? Why aren't we celebrated for our individuality, for our accomplishments? Why is there still this relentless pressure to conform? We are not leftovers. We are not incomplete. We don't need marriage to validate us. It's time to stop letting society define our worth. We deserve more than being forced into a mold that doesn't fit us. If you're listening to this, know that you're not alone. You don't have to settle. You don't have to let anyone tell you that you're not enough just because you haven't met someone yet. Your worth is defined by what you bring to the table, not by whether or not you have a partner beside you. If you've made it this far, thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you've experienced something similar or have your own thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Let's stop pretending that marriage is the only way to be whole. We are enough just as we are. I'm Huiping. Follow the channel and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time.
A few days ago, a girl born in 1993 asked me what she should do, since another year was passing and she was getting older. Honestly, if I really knew what to do, I wouldn't keep advising everyone to hurry up. A woman's age has a certain impact in the matchmaking market. In fact, this girl has good conditions, but when she was younger, she didn't want to, or even rejected the idea, and ended up dedicating all her time and energy to work and studies. Honestly, in the matchmaking market in Huiju, people really care. They care about why you let your age get to this point, and this makes everyone also interested in your financial situation. Because men, most of the time, only care about one thing. They want a girlfriend a little younger, which is the reality.
In China's big cities, the ratio between men and women has become increasingly unbalanced, especially as women of advanced age are becoming more prominent. In rural areas, there are more men than women, but in big cities, especially the larger ones, the majority are women. So, why is this happening? Many enchanted or fairy-like women are seeking compatibility with men of higher status. Many women from rural areas move to the big cities looking for work and the chance to meet a rich, handsome, powerful man, someone they can trust and build a stable life with. But the problem is that the original inhabitants of these big cities aren't fools. They know exactly why these women are coming, not for love, but for financial reasons. These women are looking for men with good financial prospects to settle down with. For example, in Shanghai, there are many women from all over the country, all with good conditions in terms of looks, body, work, and education. These women's goal is to find a local man with a house in Shanghai, right? However, after some incidents of property cleaning, the local men have become more cautious. They know that these women aren't looking to marry for love. They want someone with good financial standing. Because of this, many local men prefer women from the same city, with profiles more similar to theirs, believing it's a safer option, without the risk of financial losses. Successful men with a house and car are more interested in local women, with whom they can have a more balanced relationship. They know that, even if they aren't very successful, they won't want to marry women from outside. Therefore, in many cases, the outsider woman becomes invisible in the marriage market of these big cities. These women come to the city with the dream of finding a financially secure man, but the reality isn't what they imagined. There's so many women seeking the same thing, and the marriage market is saturated. They don't want to return to their hometowns because they don't like the lifestyle there, but they also can't find anyone compatible in the big cities. They end up with very high expectations and get deceived, refusing to accept reality. As time goes by, they realize their chances are decreasing as they get older. So, the women who are left behind will end up alone. They have passed the ideal age for having children, and due to their self-sufficiency, men don't want to marry them. Even if a man doesn't have a high status in the city, he probably won't want to marry them. He might only engage with them superficially. It's a sad situation because these women, with their high expectations, end up getting disappointed. To the men who are locals of these big cities, it's best to look for local women who are more compatible with you. The old saying, knowing them inside out, applies here. And to the guys who have come from outside and have more modest financial situations, maybe it's better to find a partner from your hometown where you will feel more comfortable and might have more chances. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.